We are so fortunate to have him here today with us, and we are honored as well. Please join me in a round of applause and welcome our Chair of the Board of Education, Lance Mizumoto.
Good morning and aloha, everybody. Aloha. I'm glad I was reminded about the fact that there's 2 football games today, and I hope you pay attention while I'm speaking today. Also, I'll take this opportunity to thank my wife, Aileen, for being here with me and providing me moral support. She woke up early today as I was writing my speech and fed me breakfast, and again, she's going to be working out a few minutes after I speak, so thank you for allowing me to do this. I also want to thank Darryl Galera for offering me the opportunity to speak to you this morning. The Education Institute of Hawaii and the Hawaii Center for Instructional Leadership for putting together this conference, and the Mamoru and Aiko Takitani Foundation for its sponsorship. Let me begin by reminding us of Governor Ige's vision for public education, which calls for empowering our public schools, focusing on 21st century skills and learning, and ensuring schools provide a healthy and safe learning environment. His proof points for empowerment include increasing the weighted student formula spending at the school level to 75% of our education funding from the current 58% level, which may be a little bit outdated, and this percentage is being based on his views, how he views spending. Reforming our top-down bureaucracy so that the system supports our schools, increasing funding that supports school-initiated, innovative approaches to education, and creating a system that provides financial incentives for effective principals to remain in our schools. So where are we today? In my short tenure on the Board of Education, it's been about maybe 6 months, I would say that we as a board have been more mindful of ensuring that funds going to the schools remain unaffected, and that we will work with the Department of Education to increase the weighted student formula spending as defined by our governor to get closer to the 75% target. We at the Board of Education are also reaching out to our principals and complex area superintendents to get their input in order to stem the perception of a top-down bureaucracy. We will need to work with both our governor and the Department of Education to achieve increased funding for innovative approaches to education, although I must say there are many schools doing this in spite of the lack of funds. And while we have not yet created a system that provides for financial incentives for effective principals to remain at their schools, I will seek guidance from our governor as to how this can be accomplished. In terms of the Board of Education leadership, the governor will continue to appoint individuals to the Board of Education who have a stake in the system's success, including those with children in public schools. Given the passage of the ESSA, we at the Board of Education are working with the Department of Education to refresh the existing strategic plan to extend out the current time frame of this plan out by 3 to 4 years. And we want to ensure there's alignment between the ESSA, other federal programs, and our governor's plan. And when I was asked to provide my thoughts on empowerment, I recall back to the time when I first tried to understand this concept as it relates to our public school system. And since I don't think teaching economics to a 3rd grade class at Wailuku Elementary for 2 months qualified me in being an educator and knowing the meaning of empowerment from an educator's perspective, I sought the help from a number of principals to understand their position on empowerment. Through a series of discussions, there emerged a theme or pattern that a component of empowerment has to include the ability to make decisions with respect to curriculum and instructional materials. I would like to point out that the need to empower people is not limited to the education space. I come from the private sector, and we in the private sector also define, discuss, and determine how we empower our employees. The Ritz-Carlton, for example, defines employee empowerment as being able to use one's natural ability to create a lasting memory for guests or resolve a guest issue and have the confidence that the company supports them 100%.
The Ritz-Carlton strives to create wow moments for its guests, and the opportunity to create such wow moments can happen in the blink of an eye. If employees are not empowered and need to cross layers of approval, these moments could be lost forever. And the Ritz-Carlton has created a culture of empowerment by allowing its employees to spend up to $2,000 per day per guest in order to wow their guests and make for a special and memorable customer experience. So you may ask, can employees at the Ritz-Carlton really spend $2,000 per day per guest? And the answer is yes. At the Ritz-Carlton, everyone has $2,000 per guest to make it right or delight, but the money is symbolic. No one is walking around with $2,000 in his or her own pocket. However, from day one, employees are encouraged and empowered to fix or improve a guest experience and spend up to $2,000 to do this. Many companies are fearful of employee empowerment. They ask, what if employees abuse the system? What if employees make bad decisions? Well, employee empowerment is one area where you have to be crystal clear. It's not enough to say to your employees, people, I'm all for empowerment, let's just do it. You need written empowerment guidelines. There are no gray areas, and you have to train because there are some people that simply don't want to take the responsibility. At the company I help run, a customer called one of our employees asking to resolve a problem, and our employee had this customer put on hold, going to the manager and asking what to do. This manager encouraged him to stop putting the customer on hold and handle the situation while talking to the customer. And that's our example of how we want to empower our employees. And even with training and clear guidelines, it's possible there will be a misstep. And if an employee doesn't follow your empowerment guidelines, you need to be careful of how to confront the issue. A significant benefit of employee empowerment is that it instills a feeling of trust with staff, and you don't want to erode that trust. So it's a matter of your verbiage.
It's a matter of saying, lads, your heart was in the right place on this, but if the situation happened again, is there a better way you could have handled it? And let's brainstorm some options. So when you empower employees, you're telling them, we select the best talent, you're adults, we trust you, you don't have to run to the manager to help a client. The results of empowerment can be amazing, and your team will not only be able to resolve issues immediately on their own, but will also be able to achieve better performance. Our company believes that if you want the best of the best, you've got to offer an exceptional workplace. You've got to value the people you choose and let them know that at every opportunity. You've got to empower them and provide opportunities for growth. You've got to be fair, and you've got to build a culture that helps them thrive, that makes them eager to go to work every day. Our company is striving to empower employees to make decisions when it comes to delivering a memorable customer experience. If you are to be an effective leader, you have to give people the room to do what they need to do their job. But there's also a need to hold people accountable. And the concept of accountability must go hand in hand with empowerment. I'd like to take this time to recognize Catherine Payne, one of our conference speakers today, for her recent letter in the Honolulu Star-Advertiser, which in my mind set the stage for today's conference. And in her letter, Catherine spoke out about schools being increasingly and predictably restructured around non-diagnostic, standardized testing schedules, and that life in the schools now revolves around the next test. Catherine also spoke about principals spending countless days in training sessions, learning little more than how to comply with the new dictates, and that what is most frightening is a top-down management culture that has resulted in disempowering school-level professionals. Now, this is not to say that progress has not been made to reduce the top-down or command and control culture, but there is much work to be done to create a climate of empowerment. There is reason to hope for more progress to be made, and as the First Lady mentioned earlier, Congress just passed legislation affecting our nation's public schools, and especially the federal government's control over public education at the state and district levels. and within the 1,059 pages of this act, and this act must be huge, it talks about empowering states to develop their own strong systems for school improvement. And this is a significant recognition by our federal government that it had reinforced a top-down management culture and that schools do need to be empowered. As such, we indeed have a great opportunity to bring a sense of empowerment to our schools. As Catherine pointed out, it is an opportunity to shift our mindset from the feds are making us do it to what can we do that will be most meaningful for our students. So now is the time to recognize that educational leadership is not power over schools and students, but rather is giving power to those in schools to make decisions that work best for the students in each unique school. I'm sure our speakers today will provide valuable insight on the issue of empowerment. I respectfully suggest to all of you that if we are going to make progress in the area of empowerment, we must begin to put a practical framework around this concept, and that we have our own proof points to ensure that we can determine whether we are or we are not making progress. I therefore ask you to begin taking action by holding us, the Board of Education and the Department of Education, accountable for making this happen, but just as important, making your voices heard, to give us your perspective on the ideas and on what things will make you feel that empowerment is indeed happening in the school system. We need to have a sense of urgency on this issue because the opportunity presents itself like never before to own the responsibility for empowering our schools. So in closing, I want to thank all of you for attending this important conference, for your passion to create a better working environment, and for your collective determination to instill the concept of empowerment into our public school system. Mahalo.